Let's have a good show. Here we go.
Commander, do you read?
Loud and clear, Scythe.
I'm approaching the terminal. I don't see anyone stationed outside of it. Something seems off about this.
Agreed. It's not like the Animus to simply leave valuable information unprotected. Perhaps their arrogance has finally gotten to them. No matter. Get into that terminal and get us what we need.
Copy. Scythe out. Okay, let's see what Asimus has been hiding from us. Whoa.
Unauthorized user detected. Initiating system wipe.
Oh, shit. Stop. Halt. Cancel. Control, Alt, delete.
Pattern detected. Launching security protocol ID-10T.
Now that's what I'm talking. Wait. How does this thing know who I am?
Protocol ID-10T. Successfully loaded. Proceed with security clearance questions?
Yes.
Confirmed. First question. You see a boat filled with people. It has not sunk, but when you look again, you do not see a single person on the boat. Why?
A riddle. I thought this would be one of those questions like, what town did you grow up in, or where did your parents conceive you? Okay, I can do this. Because I swam out to the boat and killed them all.
Incorrect. Self-destruct initiated.
Oh shit, okay, wait! They were all married.
Correct answer detected. Second question. It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelt. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, and kills laughter. What is it?
Sounds like my ex-wife.
Incorrect. Self-destruct initiated.
No, that wasn't my answer, you stupid program.
Confirmed. Self-destruct halted.
What, really?
No, I have feelings too. Self-destruct timer halved.
Oh, damn it! Oh, so something that is not tangible in any way, it comes first, follows after, maybe that refers to a day cycle. But the night doesn't end, life... Darkness! The answer is darkness!
Correct answer detected. Final question. Is the answer to this question no?
What the fuck?
Incorrect. Self-destruct initiated.
Oh, come on! Oh, this doesn't even make sense. How am I supposed to respond? Twitch chat, I need your help.
Who are you talking to?
Nobody. There is something about this question that does not make sense. It seems impossible to make the right choice.
Self-destruct in 10 seconds.
Well, I guess I know one thing for sure. I know absolutely nothing.
Paradox detected. Shotty. Yeah.
Wait, that worked? I mean, of course that worked. All right, let's see what they have locked up in here. Huh. Bitcoins. The fuck is a Bitcoin?
That is what you're here for, Scythe. You may think you were making good decisions here, and you were, but not for you.
What?
Get 'em, boys. Hands in the fucking air!
So this was your plan all along, huh?
That's right. You should have seen this one coming, Scythe. Maybe this will teach you to make smarter choices in the future. Take him down. Too easy. Now then, let's take a look at... Voice Actor Podcast. Starts at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sundays. Twitch.tv/Zamoody? What the hell is this? I want money, not fucking life advice. God damn you, Scythe! Wait, is that a guy wearing a wizard hat? I love wizards. Maybe this wasn't such a bad idea after all. Guess I'll just have to see what they have to say. Roll tape.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good day from wherever you are listening, whether you are here live or listening to us from anywhere you can find your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Welcome to Cold Read, a voice actor podcast. That wonderful intro was created by our resident Road to Eldurrino, who is not currently with us, unfortunately, but I hope he is enjoying some quality time in his outing with McMegs. Appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Ravenmane was the other voice in there, and Ravenmane is with us this week. Hello, Ravenmane.
Hello.
Hello. Well, gosh. All right. Well, like we do every show, let's go ahead and check in with everybody and see how everybody's doing. Miss Renara Hawke, coming in from the other side of the world. How are you?
I am exhausted, to put it lightly. I have been doing COVID tests all week from 9 to 5 non-stop, just all day, getting him prepared for when the kids are all back and everything. And I haven't had time to relax at all this week. So I haven't done too much in the way of auditions, but I have been recording chapters for my audiobook because the deadline for the casting call is coming up soon. So I've kind of been doing that, and just as Grimm may attest, I haven't had any time and haven't really relaxed until today, until like right now. So yes,
Yeah.
There's that.
Well, I'm glad that you consider this relaxing and not in any way. Well, glad to hear it. Sorry that we didn't get to do much on the way of VO, but at least you're getting ahead on the book project. So congratulations on that. Normally, I'd go down and check in with Ravenmane, but you mentioned Grimm, so I think this is a good segue. So Grimm is going to be our other guest host, who is also filling in for PrincessPashley, who's currently traveling, and I think in chat was a moment ago. So Grimm, how are you?
Yep. I'm doing very well. I'm currently sitting in the opposite room from Miss Hawke.
Nice.
Just relaxing. Got my feet up.
Nice.
I'm all good. I'm not that stressed at all. I've had it quite easy.
Yeah, excellent.
But,
well, so I see from your, we saw your casting call club and it's linked up above. Is this still a new concept for you, or have you been acting for a while?
Yes and no. This is kind of the beginning of my voice acting career. This is early days for voice acting, but actual physically acting in theater and things like this, I've been doing for quite a few years now. Very
cool. And in addition to your VO and casting call club, we've also heard your voice a couple times already in Renara's intros, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, I am Boy. I am the other. I am the extra of Boy.
I haven't given them a name yet. It's Boy and Girl, but yeah.
Well, welcome, Boy. I appreciate you being
Boy.
I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
I'm red. Oh God. Right.
On the opposite.
I'm Atreus.
Yeah.
I am Boy.
On the opposite side of me, we're welcoming Ravenmane once again into the guest host. How are you, Ravenmane?
I'm doing swell.
How has your week been, Ravenmane?
I had a weird week. At my job, we're rolling out a big project, so I've had a limited amount of spare time. In my spare time, that I did have. On Tuesday, I was at the gym doing a leg workout, and I nailed 2 reps of the heaviest squat I've ever done in my entire life. It was like 315 pounds. I've never felt stronger in all my years of living. And the next morning, I was just sitting in this chair, and I had a back spasm out of nowhere.
Oh, no.
It was a very up and down couple of days.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like literally lying on the ground just trying to like straighten my back out, and I'm like, how did I arrive here?
How did I get here?
You're waiting for the record scratch and then the flashback, right?
Basically.
Yeah.
Yep, that's me. You must be wondering how I got here.
Otherwise, sir, I mean, well, because I know we were talking about the topic that we were going to talk about, and then you had a surprise 11-hour shift, if my understanding is correct.
Oh God, yeah.
I did.
How does that happen?
So what happened was, somebody came to me and asked me if I'd be willing to assist another department with a thing they're working on that involves getting the COVID vaccination employed in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I don't know if I really have time to assist with this project. And they were like, you would get all hours working on this are like approved overtime. And I was like, approved overtime, you say? And now suddenly
Yeah.
I'm very
Well,
immediately like, I'm like, yes, please. So
Mhm.
on that must have been Wednesday, I want to say. I clocked out for my shift at like 6, and basically the person running this is like, take an hour after work, like chill, then just clock back in and you can help out in the project. Then I was like, great, cool. It'll take me like I'll get like a cool 2 hours of overtime. It's whatever, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eventually ended up working an additional 4 hours instead.
Cool.
So that was really cool. That was nice.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. I mean, yeah.
OT is OT.
OT is OT.
Yeah,
OT
yeah,
is
yeah.
nice. We like OT.
We love OT. Well, very cool. Welcome, Raven. Again, welcome, Grimm. As far as for me goes, you know, I'm still work has been super busy. It's been hard for me to get stuff doing. I have been doing some voices.com. I brought in one of my auditions for everybody to listen to. This particular audition is interesting for me because it was one I got shortlisted for but didn't get picked for. I'm curious to hear what input I can get to maybe have improved those chances.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing that I can think, first thing that's ever happened to me is invoices.com. I got directly invited to audition for something. That's never happened. This is very interesting.
Oh, I had one of those.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had one on a casting. So on Casting Call Club, then had this guy messaged me and he was like, "I really would like you to audition for this thing," but it was again a project that it kind of didn't look like something good, if you know what I mean. It was one of those sort of like it was a sort of I think it was whatever that fighting game is, whatever that sort of WWF whatever it is fighting game, and it was a machinima based off of using them, and I was just sort of like I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be all right for that. So because I checked it out and I went, not my thing.
Burnham again with the reminder that I've got the muted message still up, and I appreciate that every week that you do it. Eventually, I will remember to do that or set a timer or something for it to go away. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, none of that made sense. I may edit it out. We'll see. Probably not. But I mean, other than that, I did some voices.com stuff. I did a Starscream on CCC because it crossed my path and I couldn't help but give it a shot. I think it came out more Joker than Starscream, so we'll see what happens with that. I've worked with a gentleman that put that one up before, and you know, things are things, and it was one of the directed auditions, and we'll see what happens. I got cast for a video game.
Ooh.
2 characters.
Okay.
Which is the weird part. And I think it's the villain and the protagonist. So I need to figure out what the hell is going on with that.
Ooh, okay.
So that came out of CCC, and it was one of the weirder. Yeah, it's one of the weirder ones because all of a sudden it's like, poof, you've been cast, and then like 2 minutes later, poof, you've been cast, and it's like, you're gonna have to figure that one out. But yeah, it's been a weird week. So, and it's one of those that I did like in November, and all of a sudden it's coming up again. So those are one of those things we've talked about before, that you kind of throw it out to the ether and you kind of wait to see what comes back. And yeah. I don't know if the guy realizes what he's done, so we'll find out. But yeah, that's pretty much been our week. So good to have all of you with us. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Chad, for sticking around. If you guys have any questions as we go, feel free to bring them up. I will mention now, as this camera likes to not focus. There we go.
Fine.
Hello. It's okay. This one's just for. It doesn't matter. If you have any questions, or if you have any topics or an audition that you would like to listen to, ColdReadthePodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions in general, we will find somebody to answer it. So please feel free to send it through. This week's topic, though, is one that Ravenmane selected.
Yeah.
And I love it. Thank you so much. Ravenmane, you kind of put it as the grand scale of making good choices.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And we were discussing it, but I mean, your original vision, can you give it to us real quick?
So the original vision that I had, which came from my very, very, very narrow-minded actor brain style of thinking. When I talk about making good choices in the context of voice acting, or even acting, really, Good choices, I mean, like, basically, good choices is almost synonymous with like strong choices, informed choices. So like if you have a thing, you are reading a cold read in an audition situation, if you will. Making good choices is this idea that even if you have a like little to no information given to you in a cold reading situation, that little bit of information is still a lot of information with which you can make like dozens of choices. And sometimes you can read a thing and find choices that are good, but you can also find choices that are better. Some choices, not all choices are made equally, if you will.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and because there's another spin to this, and we've talked about it before too. It's not just making good choices when you're actually reading, but making good choices on the roles that you select. Because
yes.
if anything happens in the future and you end up with a bigger project and you go down and you decide to turn this into a career,
then suddenly that thing you did like 5 years ago that was just a one-off
comes back up.
Yeah.
So we'll tackle that a little bit as well, but let's start with the actual making good choices in general. So Ravenmane, I'm going to pick on you because I know this is when it comes to the acting side of things. I mean, who else is the award-winning actor directly behind your right shoulder right now on the bookcase? So, if you've picked up a script, and the director says you got a minute to look through it, let me know when you're ready. What is it? What recommendations and what are we looking for?
My best recommendation is, especially if you're given a monologue, obviously read your monologue. If you're given a scene to work with somebody, you're given like bits of, like Eldurrino gave me this script. The first thing I did is rather than read my stuff first, I read what Eldurrino is going to be reading first to give me an idea of like who Eldurrino's character is talking to. So based just off the first like 3 lines that Eldurrino has, I've gathered that the character of Scythe is like a super experienced agent of some variety. Without having to read anything that Scythe has said, I now know, all right, this is Scythe. He's an agent. He's like super good at what he does. So that's like a thing I like to do is if I'm doing scene work, I like to read what the other person is saying to kind of get an idea of who I am, who they are, what their relationship is, that sort of thing.
And it's interesting just because even when it comes to like interviews and everything else, if you generally want to make sure that you're listening to what the other person is saying in order to give the right reaction and everything else. But Ren, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
It's cool. It's just it's what I do when I put a casting call out. If there is if one of the lines for the audition is a reaction line, I do put in the line beforehand so people can read and have a understanding of like the context of what's happening in the situation, and then to be able to play off that other person if it's in a dialogue situation. So I do exactly the same thing, but from a director's perspective, I just make sure I give that information for people to use. So
nice. I'll take a second real quick to say welcome, Xavier. And yes, that is Ravenmane over there. Xavier 23.
What up, Xavier?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Friend of the channel. And also yin to Rachie H's yang. So welcome. What I would also pretty much recommend is also when it comes to the character, when it comes to the voices that you're picking, and I've talked about this before, is you have to make sure that you're doing something that you can sustain throughout long periods of time.
Yeah.
You don't want to come in and you don't want to portray a character with a super deep gravelly voice, and if you're not used to doing that, you're going to peter out in 15 minutes and then it's going to turn into such an issue. So that's something else that you may want to think about when you're doing that initial analysis and you're looking at that cold read.
Yeah.
I think that's a common thing that I find with just with that other people have done. They'll lose their accent. They'll keep their accent for the first like 2 minutes, and then you'll fade back into their regular accent, and then it's just, oh well, you've completely lost me because the character's gone from, for instance, Scottish to American. The swing is vast.
Yeah.
So you want to pick, if you're going for an accented role, you definitely want to make the good choice of picking something you can maintain.
Well, because you auditioned for an Irish role, and well,
Yeah.
you're half Irish, so you can emulate that role quite nicely.
My local accent, technically.
Technically.
Technically speaking. But yeah, I definitely recommend, if anyone was looking at accented roles, is make sure before you apply to it, is make sure you understand the accent, make sure you understand how the accent might change if your character gets emotional and things like this. You don't want just deadpan delivery for all of your lines.
Well, and I mean, you could see the lines and you can practice the accent and you can get that sentence down. But yeah, when you when the character starts diverging or they panic or everything else, yeah, I could see you or an individual unintentionally just going back to what they're comfortable with. And you've just completely blown the character out. And again, you're in a situation where you've got cast for something that you're going to have an issue with. And it's the worst feeling ever for somebody to come up to you and basically say, hey, you know what, we're going to have to go in a different direction because this isn't working out.
Yeah.
Can't say I've been in that situation.
I will plead the fifth on that and move on.
Yep. I'll do something similar just in the background.
You have no experience with that, right? Award-winning actor Ravenmane, we're good, right?
No, I've been the guy brought in to be the replacement.
I see.
Well played, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm this way.
No, you're perfectly fine. So,
well, I mean, sorry, I'm just going to plug Grimm a bit. Grimm's been at the West End, so.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, England's equivalent to Broadway. So.
Yeah, that's our I suppose, quote unquote version of it. London theatre.
Oh, very cool.
That kind of thing.
Grimm, I mean, I know you've already brought up accents and everything else, but I mean, in general, when it comes to cold reading, I mean, when it comes to making good choices, any other recommendations, or if not, anybody else on the panel?
Ooh, I think one of the main things is if you've got a choice, as in sometimes you may not have any choice, but if you do have a choice, is definitely if there's not much information, do stick to your strengths. This may seem like an obvious thing, but it's seriously something to keep in mind. Is if like, for instance, me, naturally you've got quite a deep voice, you're going to want to go for a character that perhaps speaks a little slower, maybe has more monologues than rapid dialogues with others and things like this, to emphasize your strength in front of an audience, rather than kind of steering into the wild and finding that you may not actually have the skill needed for a certain role.
Actually, that's a really good point. So knowing when to go for a particular role, because I mean, mostly your targeted audience is most people that are starting out. So you don't want to jump into anything, because, and I've said this before, first impressions can't be undone. So if you rush in and you do that demo tape and you start distributing it, I wouldn't consider that, the best way to proceed. So this can now transition into bad choices, or the best choices when you're starting out, I guess. So as we mentioned before, picking the right role, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about Casting Call Club a lot, and we know Casting Call Club has got 90% gotchas.
Minecraft role plays?
Or Minecraft, right.
Yeah. I'll stick my foot through and I'll talk about a story that happened to me this week that Grimm can attest to slightly. So I in my brain I was kind of going, I need to do some auditions this week. I need to do it, otherwise I'm going to be behind. And so I put out it was the same one that the Malaise one, the one from last week. I then just went, I'll do a few more. And then I got shortlisted for one of them, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But then they asked me to do a second audition, and then I was just sort of like, and then some words that turned up in there made me feel very uncomfortable in the sense of it was kind of like teenage lingo is what I'm going to put in there, basically. So slang words, things like that, and like internet speak that refers to some form of sort of derogatory term. And then I'm sort of there going, I don't know if I want to continue with this.
Right.
Like, even though they wanted me for like my voice and they said I was perfect with the character, I didn't feel comfortable with where this project was going. So I made the decision to go, I'm not available for this anymore, and step away. Because when Ravenmane put up the good choices, that was when I went, oh no. I had that panic on Discord and went, oh god, what have I done? What is happening? And then did all of that and then went back, deleted everything and went, don't worry guys, I've sorted this. Everything is fine.
Because I mentioned this earlier, I kind of saw that you said something and then all of a sudden it was like, never mind, I'm okay.
Fine.
So were you talking about the part and
I was talking about after because it was around the same time as I got asked to do the second audition. It was the same day, 7 a.m. for me. I think the woman was in the US or something like that. And so I was like, oh, I'll do it when I get back. And then so Ravenmane I then did it, and then Ravenmane put up, this is what we're doing this week. And then I went, oh, that's a really good point. Oh no, what if he said
oh, okay.
I could from years back comes to bite me in the butt. And I went, I am not prepared to do this. I'm just going to put this aside and go and focus on my own thing for now. But if Ravenmane hadn't said that, I might have done a bad. So thank you, Ravenmane, for pointing that out.
It's why we have these discussions.
Right.
It's the energy I bring to this team, really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll be honest in the sense of everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes, and there's always that inner drive of I really want to do things. I want to build my portfolio. I want to do as many things as I possibly can to build myself up and make yourself known. But then you've got to make that decision of I like the quality of the ones that you have done. And where you sit in the worth bracket of, do you think, where are you sitting in this big expanse spectrum of just starting, like where you think you're at the bottom rung to the middle rung, whichever rung on the ladder you are, or at least you feel you are. And I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't know what rung it is, but I'm like, I'm doing some good stuff, I think. So it was kind of just sort of that moment of realizing what sort of caliber this project was, what sort of like looking, because I joined their Discord and then sort of looked at the sort of thing they had in there and went, oh God, there's like loads of like 13-year-olds in here.
Oh no. Oh no.
And so I got this, I got like Ravenmane said, if you're given information, given resources, look at them and gather information and get a gist and feel about what this project is before you go and audition for it, I think is a good learning curve I've done today.
Well, and I mean, even adding on to that, I mean, Burnham and welcome Burnham is in chat saying trust the gut, which is very important too. I mean, don't be afraid to see who it is that you're working with. Look around, do the searches. If it's a company, figure out the company. And if you get into the Discord and all of a sudden it's all fart jokes and 13-year-olds, nope, right out.
Passion project of something that they're going to regret when they're 20.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, if anything does happen, or if you get it interviewed later on down the road, and all of a sudden we've all seen those, and I'm not saying that any of us are going to get famous, but that famous person going like, do you remember this commercial? And all of a sudden it's like, hey, ha, ha.
Yeah.
So those are definitely things that you're going to want to watch out for. And
it's why I put as much information as possible on my thing going, this is what this is about. And I'm upfront and honest, and because my casting calls are like ridiculously huge with information. I gather they really are. There's paragraphs of information on the things I make, but I put them there for a reason, so that people are completely and utterly informed as to what this is, what is going on, so that there's little room for misinterpretation sort of thing. So I'm just as upfront and honest as I can be straight away. Like because I learned very quickly, or at least a friend of mine told me this, in the sense of, because I have a friend of mine who helps me on Facebook get my projects out. She kind of helps me in the regards of like spanning it everywhere, and she told me that there was a load of people complaining that I hadn't stated whether my project was paid or not. And in my brain to start with went, but I've said it on the casting call, like I've said it there, I think. Do I need to make it bigger? And I sort of then realized, okay, I'm going to have to start off by making this exceedingly clear so that people know, like, see this and stuff like that. And I was just there going, after all of that, I was like, as much information as I can give somebody, the better it is for them to work on it and come back and give me what I want, sort of thing. So that was a bit of a tangent.
Yeah. No, you're okay.
Solid tangent though, because I have a thing to add to that. If especially in a situation wherein you give just a ton of information, that's in the closest analogy I can gather in my experience doing all the voice acting auditions that I have submitted, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Is
if you are given excess information, that is, to a degree, that's direction. You've been given direction if you've been given that information. If a person chooses to not use this information they're given, that isn't very different than ignoring direction.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you found a person who cannot be bothered to read the information that has been given to them, you are. It's almost as if you have found a person who's not going to take your direction.
Yeah, they're like not going to take it seriously, and like because there's been quite a lot of auditions on my one where I've just sort of sat there gone, "You haven't read this. I literally gave you. You haven't really." And I only listened. By that point, I've only listened to 10 seconds, and I've gone, "Oh no."
Yeah.
Like. Yeah,
it's the green M&M concept. I don't know if anybody knows, like when artists go and sign these contracts to do these coliseums and everything else, they put in these weird little clauses like only green M&Ms. And the reason that they're doing this is to make sure that the people that are hosting it are reading the contract. Because if they miss that, what else did they miss? You know, how much weight is on stage, how many people are on stage. So it's the green M&M concept when it comes to your side of things. I mean, I'd love to see that as a project person. They have those little things. It's like, say Apple somewhere in your, and if you don't say it, then I know you didn't read it.
Because what I do is I make sure to put I split up how some of the words are said, because some of the names in the books that I'm doing are ridiculous. I will gather that. Yeah. And so there's one name that I've specifically I've split up into phonetics, and I've put it in brackets, but it's not obvious. And no one so far, nobody has said his name properly. No one has actually read it properly. No one said it properly. Either it's to do with the American accent or just something or other, but I've made a video specifically stating when I say this person's name, I've said it in like verbally, and no one yet has managed to say the name properly. Whoops. And I'm going, how many times do I have to put this around until people get it, sort of thing? But that's my version of the green M&M thing of I've dotted this around the place, and I have said, like I did say in my video that at the end of the video it says, if you've already auditioned by the time I've put this video out and you've mispronounced it, don't worry. But it's been a good few weeks now, and there's enough time for people to, I've time coded exactly where bits are, and it's just I feel what Ravenmane said of they're not really taking it seriously, or they haven't taken it seriously. I feel that in a weird way.
Yeah, they haven't taken the direction.
No. So that was what that's my main key thing I would give to everybody. Please read the information that is given to you, because it will give you it will show your dedication to it in a way that might not feel like much when you audition, but means a lot to the casting person on the other side. And it shows your attitude to things right on the beginning, like first impressions, like you said, Zamoody. It shows that 100%. It's a good choice to read all of the things, is what I'm saying. It's a good first step, I think. So I will always preach it. Read every single bit of information you can gather and you can find, because it will help you make the best foot forward.
Yeah.
You're fine. Don't.
I do this. I'm sorry.
You apologize for everything.
Exactly.
I do.
You really do. Burnham brings up a great point. The casting calls with pretty much no information always feel like 13-year-olds.
Oh God, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it works both ways. I mean, even if I see nothing, like no emotion direction, nothing regarding the project, I'm gonna assume that you're not in this 100%, and I would maybe not go down that road. So something definitely to consider when it comes to looking at those particular casting calls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have learned my lesson.
So it was just the lingo and everything else. It was just the time.
It was the lingo, and then it was little bits and pieces that my dyslexic brain, I think, might have missed. Again, I'm kind of slapping myself on the wrist a little bit. And so when what they gave me for the character that I got shortlisted for was a. Let me see if I can find it specifically, because the wording itself is a little bit deceptive in that what I think they wanted, they weren't comfortable with saying it all straight away. And then when they got shortlisted and could speak to somebody more privately, they kind of divulged a bit more information.
Right.
I'm going, this is a bit tricky. This is like you're tricking people here a little bit. And it was like,
Yeah, and obviously another thing to watch out for, because if you walked into this project with full level of expectations, and then it turns into something completely different, I mean, the red flags have to be starting to fly somewhere. So
okay, so it says, so they said a seductive and sweet demon who's over 500 years old, basically. Okay, so I'm imagining sort of countess type, sort of like Yennefer sort of thing. And then then after that, when they asked me to do another one, I don't want to say what the lingo was because it was
no, and that's fine. That's fine.
But it started. They really then played on the seductive part after that, and I'm there going. It was the equivalent of when
it became less sweet.
It's kind of, instead of the sort of rather than sort of a nobler character, like when you get demons in what is it like TV shows and stuff, they're kind of usually like. They'll be seductive, but they won't act on it, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like it's sultry rather than seductive. They went the other route with this, and I was like, this is like someone trying to get you to do a simulated sex scene for an audition here. I'm not happy. It was one of those sort of traps, and I was there going, okay. And now I've looked at it. Every single person that they've cast has been off CCC site, so cast off site. So they've kind of not managed to I think they've cast people within their own friend group or fan base currently, so I'm like going
because I've had that actually happen before. So it's possible that they cast somebody that they requested maybe not to be associated with the project, so they'll cast off a CCC and then bring him in that particular way. But oh man,
that was one of the, sort of like the sort of honey trap type thing, I think is probably the way.
Yeah.
It was very because I mean I've auditioned for roles that are sort of like the countess type, sultry things like that, and they've been like, I mean Matt's project, like he wanted a very sort of aristocratic vampiric voice sounding, which I always play into the sort of sultry, charming area things. That was really good because I was able to use that, and I'm excited to see what his thing turns up, because I did a whole sultry voice for the character that I'm doing. But then it was this, and it's kind of like, oh,
I mean, well, thankfully you got out of there, and yes. Sometimes you just need a nope right out of those projects.
I literally was like, I knocked on Grimm's door. I'm like, Grimm, help, I need a second opinion.
Help.
What am I going to do? And he just went, just say
leave it.
That you're not part of it. I'm like, but I feel bad. I feel really bad. Oh,
so you're not available.
I'm like, okay, I'm not available. Send.
But yeah, and that's the thing with like with projects like that. Unless it's unless it's someone paying decent money, they've got a good bit of, as in, people know them, they've done other projects, and then it just so happens that there is a more adult scene in it for a certain character, then I'd be more willing to go for it than some fresh new account that suddenly wants like a sex scene. I'm going, this is your fanfic.
Exactly.
This is just straight up something you've written.
This may be more for personal use than anything else.
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine, Teeny Giant, who also does voice acting, gets a lot of Fiverr gigs, and a lot of them turn to go in the NSFW route, which is fine. I mean, if she charges more for it.
There's nothing wrong with NSW. Yeah, literally, like, there's nothing.
No,
wrong
if it's your thing,
right?
But like, it's a thing of like, then if it's like what you said, Grimm, in the sense of like it's an established person, it's like an established family. So you can trust the people that are making this to do it properly, in the sense of it's not just going to be like a tacky fanfic. Sort of thing. Then it's sort of like I again, you'd feel more comfortable in that security of you're not going to be misrepresented, sort of thing, if you know what I mean. And I think that comes with time, that comes with knowledge, and that comes with doing your research, and again, reading into information, finding things, and doing your own stuff behind that, which I didn't do, but okay.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
It's funny because I talked to Demetrius, was a gentleman that was doing the live recording with a couple of weeks back in regards to the visual novel, and this actual topic came up when it comes to NSFW stuff, and for the most part, I again, if it's smutty, if it's tacky, if it's not advancing the story, and it's obviously just it's for personal use,
fan service, it's just
No. But if it's a scene within an already established and a long good story, and it's advancing it in some way, I can understand it. I would be terrible at it.
But I think in regards to people starting out, in the sense of like in a way of like, I've learned to not be afraid to step out of a project, even depending on how far I might be in it, in the sense of, if you're not comfortable with this, if you aren't, if you see it damaging your career or damaging you or whatever, then don't be afraid to go, you know what, I'm out, I'm good, thanks. And I think that can be very hard when you're starting out, in the sense of you want to build that portfolio, you want to have that presence, and you're wondering whether or not it's worth it at that time. And I think, again, what Burnham said, trust your gut. If you're not comfortable, take that step and step away from it, because even if, and I don't know if I brought this up yet, and like, it will always haunt me because I missed an opportunity. And even so basically, if you step away and that thing becomes really well known, or like it comes, like it works and something miraculous that comes out of that, don't regret that, because at the end of the day, you have chosen that on it's your own personal safety and security that you need to prioritize. And obviously somebody else who is more like, maybe more established, maybe more comfortable with that, you will get there in time, in your own time. There will be other projects that may also too skyrocket. I missed out on an opportunity to voice act for Black Desert. There was a Black Desert Online. There was a casting call for that before I did Skywind. I saw it, I looked at it, I went, it sort of looks JRPG-ish. It wasn't my style. I wasn't comfortable with that because I had personal issues with other people in that sort of genre, sort of thing. So I was like, I'm not comfortable with doing this. And then it's turned into what it is now. And I for a while I was like, oh, for God's sakes, no. But then I was just I've gotten to that point of like, I'm doing my own stuff. I'm doing Skywind. There's other projects and things like this will grow, and other things will come from that. And so just, don't be afraid to step out of a project. And even if it does skyrocket and do something, there will be other stuff. And it gives you the opportunity to build, do other things, try other things, get yourself to the point where you're comfortable and able to then give 100% on a, like I think you were saying, Grimm, in the sense of low voice, something you're comfortable with and can continue to do in a comfortable setting. Words are not working, but I know what I'm trying to say. I hope it came across. There we go.
You're fine. Ravenmane and Grimm.
It is.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it is about as in the thing we're talking about of making good choices is something, and it is about gut feeling. Is if you feel the need to step away from a project, I think it is something quite internal. Going, this project isn't for you, and even if that project does become successful, it might still have been the correct choice to step away because the project may not have been for you. It may not have been good for you, and you may not have actually put your best work forward in that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was getting, because both of you are professional, you're theatrical actors. I mean, I'm assuming you've seen stuff like this happen before, where it's like the thing that you almost got, and now it's giant.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can think of a few things. Now here's a little sort of claim to fame. I almost, as in, it only shows up in a tiny part of the movie, but I was shortlisted for young Dumbledore in Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
Now, in the actual movie, the moment where young Dumbledore shows up is like tiny fraction, but it was for the kind of kid sort of teenage role of Dumbledore, and I got shortlisted, and I look at that now and I'm just like, oh, I really wish.
Nice.
But I've realized now that they didn't actually want someone with a beard, which I did have. But no, so there have been projects which, you know, I gave my all, but I didn't get there.
Right.
But at the same time, it wouldn't have done much for my acting career, because it's literally about 10 seconds of footage. It doesn't put your acting out there. It sounds great on paper, but if you actually then showed up for another audition and went, oh yeah, I was young Dumbledore, and the person's seen the movie and goes, oh, so you were just in a memory scene, and then it's yeah.
Ow.
And that's even a best case scenario, because you could be like, oh, I was young Dumbledore, and they'd be like, you're not Jude Law.
Yeah.
Younger.
Yes.
Younger. The extra younger one.
Yeah.
Chat, and this one actually comes from my wife. Never give up your own power and autonomy. Even if a project takes off, do you really want to be known for something you aren't comfortable with?
Exactly.
Great point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like 50 Shades of Grey cast, completely agree with you, dear.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think we've passed on a lot of good information. I want to make sure that we get on to some of the auditions. Any last thoughts on this particular one, or I think we're good, right?
I think stick to your gut, stick to like preserving your own autonomy, as your wife said, like having your sense of self and knowing, like, just make sure that when you're doing this, you're enjoying it and you feel comfortable and happy, and it's building you, not tearing parts of you, if that makes sense. Do things that might test your limits but not break your limits. Do things that will allow your comfort bubble to go a little, like, continuously move outwards, but not to be pushed so far as to it hurt. I think when you're starting out, it may seem like you want to run, you want to do everything, you want to do 100, like this, that, and all the others, and you want to grab as much as you can. Slow down, take a moment, read, do your research, and just continuously, like, string one pearl against another rather than loads of rocks with a bit of plastic and then a pearl, because that pearl will get lost and lose its value amongst all of the other stuff that you've kind of strung along there. Yep. And then once you've started to get more and more pearls after that, that beginning part of all those rocks and stuff is still going to be there. Like, once you've done those, it's kind of like the internet is forever.
Yes.
So they're not going away. So take that time to imagine, to view this project. Is this project gold or is it pyrite? Think about it and then pick, basically. So many analogies in that, but yes.
I
love
love
a good geology analogy.
Yeah. It's a very good because the internet is forever and the internet
It is.
remembers everything.
Every
Yeah.
single little thing.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
So we have some auditions here. It's my understanding that we're going to listen to Grimm's auditions.
Yes,
This is a
the same
particular.
thing that's in with Burnham. The
But-
same thing that he got thing for with Burnham. So yeah. I'm a massive. I will be like, I've forgotten who it is, but the guy, like Will Smith and his wife, just great. He's done amazing stuff for him. And I will do that for anyone and everyone. I'll be like, Ravenmane, look at him, he's awesome, Zamoody. I am the hype woman for everyone, so that's what I am.
Hype train.
I will start this hype train and I will keep it going.
Very cool.
I
Okay,
will
so
behave now.
this is Bogman, I believe. This is what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
The sun's out, there ain't no wind. Be perfect for us to have a wee chat, don't you think? Feel like we have a lot to talk about. But we both know you gotta hear what I have to say. There isn't gonna be an easy way out of this, miss. You know it, I know it, and your boy knows it. So how's about the gun goes down for a bit, and we chat this out, eh? Be careful now, Connell. You're starting to get on my nerves. Be careful now, Connell. You're starting to get on my nerves.
Nice. Okay. Accent is very natural, so obviously yes. You just dialed it up a little bit from what I'm hearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you're Irish, so.
Well.
Yeah. I intentionally kind of pushed it forwards a bit because, admittedly, the guy running the project, nothing against him at all, but he seems very. How can I put this politically correct?
English?
He is very. Yes, he's very English.
I said it to
So
I see Ravenmane cracking up over there. I guess you don't need to mute your mic. I want to hear this.
So it is definitely because all the accents just say Irish, and that's as vague as saying American. Like there are so many different accents.
Right.
It's much broader than that. So I just dialed my own accent up to the point where it's particularly noticeable, and kind of went with it.
Burnham says definitely the Nern-Ursh vowels in there, Grimm.
Yep.
I loved it. I mean, I was surprised to hear the gun on the first take of it because it seemed very calm way of putting it, but I can understand that you were diffusing the situation.
Yeah, that was the
and that was one of the things. Sorry.
Yeah, the direction was to be calm.
Mhm.
So
That's good. I came through.
Yeah.
Ravenmane.
Man, oh man. I'm listening to the especially with the first half of the read. I'm like listening to this. I'm like, I gotta open a word pad. We gotta take some notes real quick because I'm gonna get lost in my own thoughts if I don't. What I really liked about that third, like normally when I've been a guest host on this podcast and we have done reads, I'll have the sides open here so I can like kind of like follow along. And then pick things apart. I do not have that right now.
Hold on,
very
I'll give that
obviously.
to you, but keep
So
going.
I'm just taking mental notes, which is better because now I pay like hella close attention.
Yep.
So in that first line, I got a really, really clear understanding of what is going on in this situation. Literally, as soon I had a fairly good understanding, I knew immediately I was dialed into what the circumstances were as soon as I heard a lot to talk about. Just the way you you slapped that T in about really helped sell the severity of the situation we are dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's a thing I like to talk about whenever I am a guest host on this podcast. Whenever you're reading anything for anything, whenever you're reading any sentence, there's always one word in that sentence that is the most important word. And sometimes
Mm.
people will be really, really kind and they'll point it out to you and be like, they'll put it in bold or italics and be like, this is the most important word. And sometimes you have to make that choice.
Mhm.
And putting that level of emphasis on that T in about makes it very clear. That's a good choice. That is a good choice made.
Well, the guy was at gunpoint, so I feel like they really did have something to talk about here.
Ravenmane, I just put up a Grimm's profile in the chat. All 3 of the auditions are right there. If you click on, and anybody else obviously here, if you click on the particular role, it'll show you that side and everything to that effect.
Mhm.
Oh, Renara?
Well, yes. I think I'm really just nitpicking here in the sense of I heard your accent diminish when you shouted. In the last little bit at the end of that, you're starting to get on my nerves. Came across slightly more English, but I think that was because you're trying to force it, and the Irish accent kind of doesn't allow that, especially in the sense of we talked about it in the sense of the dynamic range in an Irish accent is quite. How would you say?
It's very different. It's very different. Something that it's quite difficult when you're doing like dramatic readings in an Irish accent, especially if you're yelling, is in the Irish accent, lots of things become almost intentionally slurred, and you can lose entire words in a conversation.
It's why when you hear Irish people talking really fast on television or whatever, you do miss words, and it does sound a bit strong.
Well, to be sure, you're going to get frostbite. Some of the accents you can get there's very vast. It's terrible.
Because I think all of us are going to compare it to like Jacksepticeye because he's recently did videos in regards to the Irish accent, and when he like lets go and really just like completely, it's just like wow, it's a string of words that just go
which is why with what the guy was asking for in the actual audition, it was like, right, we've got to really like I was directing Grimm slightly when he made these in the sense of because for the last one he kept doing bits and pieces of like it was the stern coldness, and I was like, no, I really want to hear you shout, I really want to hear the ferocity in your voice here. And I think you pushed it, and now I'm there going, it slipped a little bit at the end. So I think overall it I think it was really good, and I think it captured Bogman's optimism, relaxed attitude. I personally do prefer your Churchman Cole and your very English Mickey Lowell. I think
my very English.
Bogman was the lead role, and it was the one where like it was the first one you did, and then when you did Churchman Cole, you sort of settled into that Irish accent a bit more.
Well,
and then we went to full English posh gentleman for Mickey. So it's you see a lot of different bits and pieces. There's not a lot I can really add because
he could have been posher.
No, there really isn't a way he could have been posher, but I'll let the gentleman here decide that.
Yeah. So real quick, Burnham is saying for this project, I'm kind of preparing to have to give direction on the Scottish action or suggestions. I mean, so just always be careful with that because you don't want to come off as
no at all. So I think you're not trying to take over on the project. It's more like give direction, but have a chat with the project person. And
on the side, privately, not publicly.
Yes, not public. Just sort of chat and just sort of see where their understanding of it is, and then just sort of go, oh hey, like I'm like, because you are Scottish, Burnham. You could say like, oh hey, I am Scottish. Like, do you mind if we have a chat about this a bit? Like, this is what I know. Are you happy with me to do this? And see, they might learn a bit and go, oh, that would be really cool. And then it'd be just sort of like you might help them, help their project, help you, sort of thing. But if they aren't comfortable with that, I don't think it's not really any like you shouldn't kind of just go, but I'm going to do this anyway. If you know what I mean? Yeah.
Asking if they say no, it's okay.
Well, a thing I find a lot with accents, especially whenever I've been actually asked to do my more native accent for theatre plays and things, I've often found the people directing are stuck on the fact that they don't want natural, they may actually want stereotypical. That may actually be what they're looking for. And while it may not be an accurate representation of an actual Irish accent or a Scottish accent, sometimes it is what is wanted for the role.
Because everyone's interpretation of what an accent is varies in the sense, and so it's just you've got to find what works where.
Find the middle ground. Find what works.
All right. Well, I'm super curious to hear because I'm going to leave the last one, which is Mickey, for the very end. So the section that we're going to hear is Churchman, I believe.
Cole. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Churchman Cole.
I'm bringing up the sides on my side too, and here we go.
All things have their balance in life. Only fools fail to see that. Fear is countered by God, arrogance by humility, and disloyalty. Well, that's where you come in. I saw you there on the church floor, gasping and mud-covered. A monstrosity. But did I turn you away? Smite you, as the book would demand? No, I took you in and made you human. Made you one of us. Was that a mistake? I am sorry. I've been too harsh on you. I know you do your best. Perhaps I am at fault for trusting you with such a delicate issue.
Wow.
Yeah, I prefer that one mostly because I like the third one the most because I like how soft it was, and I think the direction was to like guilty or to make that a person.
Yeah, it was guilting.
Yeah, guilting. That
was guilting.
I liked how it was so soft, and then you made the emphasis on the trusting you, which just sort of stabs you in the gut a little bit, and you sort of really feel that bit of he's really sort of twisting the knife a little bit here, and I really do feel like you got the evangelical sort of judgment.
Oh well, that's from personal experience. From going to church in the Republic of Ireland. Ooh boy.
But it really came across like the Irish accent was a lot more like you'd settled into that a lot more, and I think because there was a lot more like what is it? Not dynamic range, but like with Bogman he was quite subdued. With Churchman his emotions are all over the place, and so you could play with that in the accent. And even though vocally you didn't really move very far up and down, emphasis and like detail-wise, there was a lot more in there, and it was a lot more subtle. And I just prefer that one out of the two personally. That's just my thing.
Ravenmane.
So just reading just the lines and nothing but the lines. If you do not read any of the context of who Churchman Cole is, it is especially in line 2. It is really, really easy to get a little bit heated when you're talking about, I saw you there on the church floor gasping in mud, a monstrosity, but did I turn you away? No. Like it's super easy to go in that direction just the way that these lines are written. And that's why it's really important to read your stuff. Read the stuff becomes before. Because when you understand that this is a menacing and cold person, there's no need. There's no need to. There's a play that I am forgetting the name of, so I'm going to Google it very quickly. It's really embarrassing. It's actually one of my favorite plays.
Okay.
This is very embarrassing for me. Yes, The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. It's a fascinating little play. I love that play, in which Judas Iscariot is put on trial, and there are a couple of lawyers trying him for, betraying Jesus Christ. And the devil is a character in this play. And I've seen the play a couple of times. I've seen 2 very different devils, and I think the second devil is a much, much, much better read. The first devil's like, I am the devil, and it's like all hellfire and brimstone. And the second reading I read is, it's almost like if James Woods's Hades wasn't funny, but just genuinely could not give less of a, like, he just, like, it's almost like, yeah, I'm the devil. Are we done here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can really see that.
Do you have
though.
any idea how much of a waste of my time this is?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's guilty. Who cares? Whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like sure you could read these angry, but I don't think that's interesting. That's not that it's a choice.
Mm.
It may be even arguably a good choice, but given the information that we have,
Mhm.
there's a better
Yeah.
choice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Grimm made
One of
the
those
better.
good choices.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, that's like especially that third line, just like, oh, that's really sweet, and then you just perhaps I am the poison, just like
Yeah.
in the well. Oh man, hurtful.
No, I loved it. I could tell the cold and the menace even from the very beginning. Slight disgust was in there. I liked it. I really liked the read. So this is absolutely awesome. The final one that we're going to listen to for your side. This is the one that you actually got cast for, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This is the one I'll be playing.
Ooh. So and this is Mickey Lowe. All right.
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
I love trading quips with you, mate, but it's rather like teaching a dog a new trick. Sure, you can do it, but it all falls to pieces when things get complicated. You never mastered the subtle art of improvisation. Come on, Maisie, the boy is an idiot, I agree, but it's not his fault he's beholden to a power-hungry maniac. That's where your anger should be pointed at, the bloody churchman, not at him. Oh, holy unmentionables are the Antichrist! What the hell is it? Fucking kill it, Bogman!
I love that last one.
I had so much fun with that last one.
It's so interesting because even like the first sentence of this, Mickey's an Englishman, so one of the only non-Irish accents needed. And you were able, I mean, you're obviously your Irish is so good, but I mean, my gosh, your English is spectacular. Yeah, that.
Well, I've lived in England for a long time as well, so.
Gotcha. And yes, absolutely. Panic at seeing the Mistling transform. Holy unmentionable. I loved it.
But I think what comes
It was just beautiful line.
Uh-huh.
I think, to be honest, Grimm, you've had, like, when did you start acting? You have years of experience behind you. You started as a very young child acting. So you've been doing this for years.
I started around 8 years old. I'm 20 now, so I've been doing it for 12 years.
So yeah, you've had a lot. You've grown. You've lived this for so long. So it kind of like the nuanced parts and the bits to emphasize and all these things, and they come sort of second nature to you. But I think that really just shows in your vocalness. I think it's just getting you exposed to the right channels for voice acting is the next step.
Yeah, it was just Mickey Lowe struck me as a character I have both seen before, I have acted alongside before, and I have acted before. Admittedly, I haven't read the book that this audiobook is from, but just from these few lines and the directions I got, there was this familiar aspect to the character, which is how I gained that particular accent. Because I'd done it before. And as well as is that accent definitely helps when you go from all calm and witty to suddenly holy unmentionables of the Antichrist.
But like that crack, the crack in your voice is natural when you kind of go, "Oh my fucking god!"
Right.
Yeah.
Ravenmane, your take?
So I like that we saved this one for last because it presents a very interesting contrast, where the Bogman read was very, very, very slow, very methodical. The Churchman was very, very slow, very, very methodical. This read was very fast.
Yeah.
We moved through our speech very, very quickly, and I think that is an exceptional choice, and here's why. It mentions very specifically this is a wild and unpredictable person who rarely thinks plans through before jumping in. This character strikes me based on the direction that's given before the lines, based on the way that this person speaks in the given lines. This is a person who they don't plan. They kind of just they press go and they see what happens.
Yep.
So this
Yep.
is very much the speaking, especially the first line. This is very much the speaking of somebody who is kind of like, who hasn't necessarily fully formed a thought. They're just kind of they're very stream of consciousnessly moving through what they have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came through really nice. I like that a lot.
Oh, very cool. Thank you, everybody, for your input on that. Grimm, I hope, I mean, what can we offer you? You've got 12 years of experience, so it was great to listen to you.
Well, I'm new to voice acting, so I'm curious about how I will stand up because on through my 12 years, it's weird to say that out loud, 12 years, is I've learned to be, because I was often chosen for narrator roles and things like this. I've often been literally planted on stage, center stage, where there's no one else on stage and told to just act. And a lot of that for me has been very physical. It's been the way I moved, whatever I've been wearing, things like this that I've used to guide me with what I'm doing. So I'm kind of finding my way now with voice acting as well, without that physical part of it.
I will.
Think,
no,
No,
well,
no,
I
you
was
go.
gonna say it's good because you've got a leg up when it comes to the voice acting part because you've got Renara to help you out because you've got
Yes,
you're getting
that
over
has
the
been a lot of help.
yeah,
Actually.
you're getting over the pitfalls of what normally a person who's learning this craft or getting used to it would fall into, which is the echoey room, the bad mic. I'm sure
Yeah.
Ren is a whiz when it comes to audio stuff.
I did edit his
Yep.
auditions because they were like 5 minutes long / lots of different things. I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna go through it.
Oh, so many takes.
Do it again. But I think it's important that if people are starting out to maybe find someone that is willing to sit down with you and have that journey with you together. I think it is important, like because then that helps you build your networking. It's important to have someone to be able to sort of listen to it because you are your own worst critic.
Absolutely.
And so you could like with Grimm, like I think you had several ones, but you were like, I don't know which one I should go for. So then I came in and went, first time I'm hearing it, I prefer this one over this one. This is the reason why. And then it's sort of, you've got that person to bounce off of. If it's a friend, a loved one, a roommate, or someone that you can just send something. Because I send my singing ones to Pashley. I send my things like through for other people to listen to, going, I don't know what this sounds like. Like, do you like this or not? Can you give criticism? And I think it is important to have that person. So I think if you are starting out, I think, don't be afraid to ask people for a second opinion, and it helps you start that ball rolling of networking, which is important later on. So if you can have that if you can find that person that you can bounce something off of, it can be a total stranger that you've like just met, even if you've met them on a forum. I would say if you've met them on like a voice acting forum and there's the similar interest, then you can ask that person. But it can also be just a friend that you're like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Would you mind just listening to this and tell me like if there's any good bits, bad bits, or whatever? Even if they aren't like, what's the word? Like I am for Grimm in the sense of I've had experience and stuff. Even if they aren't, they will still have valuable opinions that are important to you as a person, and that helps you grow as a voice actor and as you go through it. Because so I think it is important to have people around you that you can bounce ideas off of, because I think in the creative industry that's kind of the key core of it, really.
Well, I think it's just a tremendous help to be able to have, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to create this particular panel. It's not only for people that are listening to us, but I mean, we're helping each other out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So this is our peer group. That's what I call, and then we go from there.
A weekly meeting of this is what we've done, and this is what we do. What do you guys think? I mean,
super therapeutic to sit here and listen to all this, and it helps with that imposter syndrome and everything else because we listen to everybody else's issues.
Yeah.
Okay, I put Ravenmane, because I know you like it so much, in the Discord. There's a picture of the lines that you're going to hear for my particular audition. I'm going to play this, and everybody, you've got it? It's just a picture. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I called as loudly as I could, and I was heard. There came back a rebel. What could I expect from him?
He asked me what he could do for me. Water was my cry. I have not a drop, he said, and do not know where to get any. I asked him to take my canteen and go and see if he could not find me some. He said he was afraid he would run into our lines and be shot, and that he could not do it, although he was very sorry. I told him, kill me then, to run his bayonet through me, as I could not live in such misery.
That's it.
Okay.
Hmm?
I think out of all of that, I think your last line was your better one, because I think it was the culmination of all of the emotion that the rest of this built up to. And I think it really kind of came through with that. I think for me, because this seems very audiobookish, like you're telling a story. I don't know if it might be just my preference or something, but it felt very still like again very blocky in the sense of it didn't feel as though it ran as smoothly as it could. But the last line did run smoothly because you had that emotion in there to sort of smooth it out and help carry it and stuff. You also added pauses between places that there weren't commas, which confused me a little bit. But I think overall, I think it was good, and I think you did have you had that. It was almost like you're how do I put it? It's like you're daydreaming and you're recollecting it outside of the battlefield.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to relive it.
The title is "A Silver Soldier Recalling Lying on the Battlefield Wounded," including dialogue with enemy Good Samaritan. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for that, you hit that on the head. You hit the nail on the head with that. I think was really good. But I think for me and my preference, it would have been nice to have it kind of be like a little bit smoother rather than chocked. But if that's what they want and you've been cast for it, then you've done brilliantly.
Again, it's one I got shortlisted for, but I'm listening to all of the feedback and I appreciate it.
I think for ones when it comes to reading, I think it needs to, like when it comes to sort of like a book, or because it does read to me like this is an excerpt from a book, because it says like he asked me and things like that. So it would have been like, I called as loudly as I could and I was heard. Like rather than I can't remember what you did.
Right.
Really
So I did pause there. So it's called loud as I could and I was heard. I left the pause for kind of a dramatic effect, but I totally understand because you're right. The comma's not there.
I think I know what it is now. It's that it was such a sharp pause rather than because I called loudly as I could and I was heard, because you had that emphasis on the beginning of the "and," which then kind of threw it off and made it sound like it was a new sentence. I think that's what, because I fall into that trap as well when I'm recording my own thing of that. There'll be a comma, but then when I go on to the second part of that line, I've put the emphasis right at the beginning of the word and it doesn't sound as natural. So yeah, I would try and make it smoother and run like more like sand rather than blocks of granite.
Gotcha. Thank you. Grimm or Ravenmane?
Yes. I think the only thing I can nitpick, and it is kind of nitpicky, kind of more from an actor's point of view, is I would have chosen the second line to be a bit more incredulous. Like, there came back a rebel? What could I expect from him?
Okay.
Like, it really emphasized that, because what I'm gathering is this is your enemy that has just arrived, and it's essentially just, what cruel irony. How can I expect my enemy to try and save me? So I think all the rest of it was really good. And yes, I agree with Renara that the last line is definitely kind of the brings it all together. It's the best one of them. But I think with that second line, I would have been, I guess, incredulous, kind of. Why did this happen to me? Why did it have to be a rebel?
Love it. Monsieur Ravenmane.
Yes.
So I had an acting teacher who told me that acting is all about building the tallest bridge you can build, and then jumping off of it and just living through that experience.
Yep.
So with this, I feel like I understand where the choice and how this reading came from. It sounded to me as if this is a person, obviously it's a person recalling nearly dehydrating to death somewhere, presumably a desert. And it's almost like sometimes this is an anecdote, if you will, but really it's not if you will, this is about to be straight up an anecdote. Sometimes when I'm recalling a story and I'm telling a story of something that happened, I will very much find myself in the headspace of when that story was occurring, especially if it's a story of a profound misfortune. So it's almost like I felt like this reading was the soldier reading, like it's almost like retelling his story and recounting the absolute desperation that dehydration brought them under. I think it's a good choice for sure. It is a strongly made choice. I feel like we could have made a better choice. And the better choice I feel like we could have made is, I feel like I agree with Grimm's thing. We could read the second line as almost like incredulous. We could almost read less incredulity and more like a disbelief. Like,
yeah, like, oh my god.
like it's almost like this is the finale. Like I like the first line having a sense of finality to it and the second line having a sense of finality to it, because I'm a big fan of cyclical storytelling. So figure you start off with this like very like gross finality of like there came a rebel. What could I expect from him?
Right.
Yeah.
He asked, like almost like bemused. He asked what he could do for me. Then when you get to water, fucking kick the gas pedal, kick it, and just run with it. Water, I have not a drop. Like almost like move through like the in real life desperation of this experience. Water, I have not a drop, and I don't know where I can get any. I asked him to take my canteen and go and see if he could find me some. He said he was afraid.
Yeah, because then that really kicks that part, because I think that was what I was missing. I wanted a bit more oomph behind some of these emotional beats in there. I think with the way you blocked it up. Yeah, sorry.
But then that last line, what I would love for that last line is I'd love for that last line to have, I don't want to say no emotion, because I feel like hopelessness is an emotion, but like this is a person who that is a terrible resolve to reach. I told him to kill me because I cannot live with this. I can't live like this any longer. So I feel like if we had started off with that sense of resigned desperation, ramped it up to, you found a person, oh my god, this person might be able to help me. This person might be able to help me. They can't help me.
Or they won't.
They won't help me.
Right.
Death is better than this. Death is better than living like this is a horrifying thought. Very morbid thought. And I don't think it'd necessarily be bad to play into that mindset.
Love it. Wow. Okay. Well.
So there's all your feedback.
Yeah, I love it. And this, and like we've all mentioned before, this is all a learning experience. You have to learn to take the feedback and take it constructively. And I appreciate each and every one of you for doing that. And you have to open yourself up. You have to allow it. So I love it. And this is why I love having Ravenmane. Grimm, this was awesome. Love having you on.
Yeah.
Maybe we can consider having you and Burnham once the project gets going, and see,
that'd be good.
Yeah, and see how all of that is going. In the meantime, though, we're going to have to start our sign off because we are very, very late. So, I think this was a great topic. I think learning to make these good decisions is very important for somebody, and it helps when you're sitting there in front, looking at your copy, and figuring out. I love the advice of read the other side first, and then read your side. That's great. So we've learned a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But sadly, we do have to call it quits. So to another week, here we go. We will consider a topic. I loved being able to promote yourself, Ren. So maybe we'll talk about that particular one and good ways of doing it and bad ways of doing it.
Yeah. All right.
I will be doing the intro for next week, so I'll be reaching out.
Mhm.
Ravenmane, I know you're a favorite of mine. Grimm, hopefully I can count on you. Burnham, if you're out there, I may ask for all the guest host assistants here. So
Yeah,
we'll
I'll be happy to help.
In other words, I'll find out and then I'll tell Grimm.
Yes, please. Yes.
Hey.
Well, you're on Discord now, so at least I can maybe send you something there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is great. We miss Pashley, we miss Eldurrino, but I mean it's okay. We all understand. We all have lives outside of this, but hopefully next week we'll see them back. Like I said, a lot was said here. We will go and continue on and explore. And as usual, I will say, please put out your auditions. The only way that you will continue is to practice. Putting yourself out there is very, very important. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Please, if you have the ambition and the interest, even if you're doing it on your phone, just record and put it out
If
there.
you're looking for someone to give you feedback on auditions and you don't have anyone, we are here. We are literally here.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying.
ColdReadthePodcast@gmail.com, and we'll see you all next time. That's cut. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.